All right, my friends. This week on Prof and Dev Play Games, we are drafting part of our stable for our Fantasy Critic 2025. Stay tuned. All right, my friends, welcome to episode 461 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Blue Sky. Over there is Anthony, the dev at Summer Speak on Blue Sky. How are you doing this week, man?
Pretty good. Are you ever going to get, there's always the hesitation whenever you say our names and you're like, Blue Sky. It's really hard to break the old site.
Dude,
in my vernacular, being like, oh, right, no, not the old hell site.
Well, and it's like so many years of podcasts where we had it, and then eventually, when I dropped it, we just didn't do it for like a year and a half, and now I'm back to doing it, and it's like, I want to say the site's name again, and it's like, that's not it. It's Blue Sky, and I have to stop myself.
Yeah, I understand. But yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Been a little sick, and whatever. We just had our 20th anniversary party with a bunch of friends and family, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, things are all good. And I'm very excited to stop agonizing over what I want to draft in Fantasy Critic. So I think we'll get right into it so I can end the agony.
Start this?
Yeah, I want to tell people the rules this year first.
Okay.
So just like last year, well, first of all, if you don't know what Fantasy Critic is, it's basically like fantasy football in a way where you're doing a thing based on other people's things and getting points for it and using them as bragging rights over your friends. So you basically draft a stable of games that are coming out in the next year, and you are getting a certain amount of points for them. If their open critic score 70 or above, you get 1 point. Above 70, up to 90, and above 90, you get 2 points. And then you're counterpicking your opponent's games, up to 6 in our league, and the goal is the opposite for counterpicking. You're trying to counterpick a game that you think is going to score poorly for your opponent, and you'll get points if it's below 70, and you'll lose points if it's above 70. Our rules are we're drafting 36 games, and we're going to have a total of 36 games on the roster over the year. We're going to draft a third of that tonight, so we're each going to draft 12 games tonight. There are a total of 6 games that we are going to counterpick over the year, and tonight we're going to draft 2 counterpicks, which means theoretically, we are choosing the games tonight that should score really high this year, and we're going to have to choose 2 of those to counterpick. We have a $100 budget over the year. There's a $1 minimum bid. We are allowed to drop 2 games that will release, whether or not they were drafted, which is different from last year where we could only drop ones that were drafted. This year, you can drop any that you pick up. Year. You can drop unlimited games that will not release, and then in terms of any that are unreleased, you can drop up to 2. And another new thing this year is that we are allowing 1 super drop, which means there are no conditions for a super drop, except for one, which I'll get into in a second.
You can just get rid of it.
You can just get rid of it. It scored poorly. You're like, that was a terrible decision. I'm getting rid of it. And then it's gone. Except if it was counterpicked. If it's counterpicked, you cannot drop it, even if it's a super drop.
Okay.
For this year, we have banned the tags currently in early access. We have banned director's cut, which you'll see how that's defined over the year. We have banned partial remake. We have banned port, and we have banned released internationally. That means we cannot draft any of those.
That came up a couple times last year with me when I was looking at things to get. The international one, I was like, oh, this looks like a cool game. Oh, it already came out international.
Exactly.
It had been out for a bit. So
like
that actually does come up more. Yeah, the trail stuff was one.
Yep.
Ease, I think, had one as well.
Ease too. That's right.
Yeah. It's not the most common, but it is shockingly relevant.
It does come up, and the early access thing is the thing that's always the most interesting. And maybe we can talk about this as I read through the things that are allowed. I think I do have one question before we go. So things that are allowed: expansion pack. I think that includes things like DLC. Shadow of the Erd Tree was an expansion pack, I would say. Free to play is allowed. A new game is allowed. A new gaming franchise is allowed. Planned for early access is allowed. That's the one I want to talk about. A reimagining is allowed. A remake is allowed. A remaster is allowed. And those are 3 variations of similar things, really. different, I don't know,
Yeah.
gradations of a remake. Unannounced games are allowed. For example, Mario Kart 9 is not announced, but if you feel strongly it's coming out this year, you could draft that. Virtual reality is allowed. Will release internationally first is allowed, and yearly installment is allowed.
Okay.
So I did want to talk about early access, a game that is planned to release in early access but is not playable yet. Oh, now I get it. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So if
It's basically, and we had this last year, and that was
we
fine.
did,
It's like,
yeah.
if the game is coming, it can release into early access. If you draft it before it ever has a public release, that's fine. Even if that public release is early access.
Exactly, that's right.
It's just, if it's a game currently in early access, you can't draft it.
That's right.
For its official release. Like last year, like Satisfactory would have been a game last year where we could, even though it was like, oh, this is going to come out and it's going to be amazing, couldn't draft it. It's been in early access for years. It's I think the easiest way to say it is it's been publicly released in some form.
Yep, exactly right.
Before this year.
Yeah, so for example, Hades 2 was eligible to draft last year because it came out in early access. It'll come out in 1.0 this year. We cannot draft it this year.
Correct.
Yeah, that makes sense. We'll keep that.
Baldur's Gate 3 was a similar one.
That's right. That's right.
That was like whatever, like, oh, that would have been 2 years ago, but it was in a similar place because it had been in early access, even though it was just the first act. But it was undraftable into our league.
Yep. And then we get into the advanced settings. Mostly going to keep these default. Over 90 points, over 90, you get 2 points per point. Tiebreak system when we are doing bids. If we both bid the same amount on a game, the lowest projected points gets it. It could be the earliest bid instead. So we could talk about which one you would prefer. The person who does it first gets it, or the person who has the lowest projected points gets it. What do you think?
Do it first.
Okay.
Whoever commits to it first.
Okay, sounds good. Last year we did lowest projected points, and sometimes we did have ties, and it went to lowest projected, and it sort of felt bad because those projected points are the estimations are not great, I think.
Yeah.
Cool. The next one I changed from the default. Let's talk about it though. It's game release rule. This setting handles whether or not a game must be officially released in order to get points. By default, they have to be published. However, recently more games have had strange release situations such as Overwatch 2 or Multiverses. This option will allow a player to get points as soon as the game has an open critic score, regardless of release status. So last year we had must be released, and that caused problems for a game like the ones who did it was in the middle of your Fantasy Critic. Wicked? No Rest for the Wicked. That was
Yeah.
Where it had a score on Open Critic, but because it for some reason was tagged as not officially released, and that happens sometimes with the early access games, I had to go in and manually write your score. So this just does that automatically. We can leave it as must be released, and I can just go in and manually write what the Open Critic is, or we can do it.
No, actually, I just like it if it has an Open Critic score. I think
that's good. Only needs score.
I think I'm okay with that. It needs that score.
Great. Perfect. And then, if this fucks something up that we're not thinking about, then we can come back and change it.
Yeah.
Counter pick deadline. You must choose your 6 counter picks by November 8th.
Okay.
And then might release droppable date is November 15th. So
yeah, you should know by then.
You should know by then. Yeah, exactly right. I'm going to confirm those settings. And then we are going to draft, and we can talk about this too. Because I won last year, I set you as the first drafter.
Okay.
But if we're doing Snake, and I couldn't find any options to figure out how the draft would set up, it's always been Snake, so I assume it still is. That means if you pick first, I get the next 2. So I actually want to let you decide. Do you want to be first, or do you want to be able to pick 2 and 3?
I'll go second.
Okay. Let me edit the draft order, and I will.
I'll give you first chance. That's something really good. Maybe it will be Silk Song again.
and then you get to draft 2. Okay, I think that I want to give you the choice because I won last year, so you get to choose what's better for you.
Silk Song, do it. Come on.
And then my publisher name is
You're ignoring me. This is great.
My publisher name is Survive25. How about you? What's yours?
Mine's Dead Internet Inc.
I love that name. Is there any specific reason?
I don't know. I was thinking of funny names, and I was reading stuff on the dead internet theory / conspiracy, and it made me laugh.
What the fuck is the dead internet theory?
Basically, that most content on the internet now is done by bots.
Oh, Jesus.
And bots are just feeding off of bots at this point.
Okay, got it.
And now it's kind of being mixed in with AI as well, that we'll eventually get to the dead internet, where all the content being generated on the internet is all done by bots and AI, not by real people.
Yeah.
And they're just interacting off each other and not real people interacting with it. And we just kind of stop using the internet.
Okay. Yeah. That is pretty funny. And also
it is a funny thing. People are like, there is, I would say, a level of like, oh yeah, that is a neat theory, but some people have taken it very into like conspiracy theory level of like, this is happening now. Everyone on the internet is a bot, like for the most part. I'm like, I don't think we're there yet.
They're robots.
Yeah. But dead internet theory is fun. It's one of those. It was fun while it's lasted internet, but bye now. Let's go back to reading books.
I have this year, man. I gave myself my New Year's resolution was to read 10 pages a day in a book, and it's been awesome because I read 10 pages. I'm like, I'm into this. I'm going to keep going.
I'm going to read more. Yeah, I know how that goes.
Yeah, it's been great. All right, so we are set then. Again, we are going to draft 12 games each. I'm starting, which sucks.
No, it doesn't.
We'll see. And then we will go all the way down, and then we'll do our counter picks at the end. The last 2 years, I have drafted Silk Song first. I've still managed to win, even though that fucking game never came out. So we'll see.
Well, this is the year it comes out.
Sure. All right, I'm gonna hit start drafting.
Okay.
Warning: once you start drafting, you can no longer add or remove players, and the draft order is locked. However, if you need to, you can reset the draft. Got it. Okay, here we go.
All right.
So it is my turn to draft a game. I'm going to draft a game first, and for my first game, I am going to draft Monster Hunter Wilds. And not Silk Song.
Okay. It's my turn to draft. Draft game. I am going to draft Ghost of Yote.
Fuck.
And Civ 7.
Nice. All right.
Something that will come out into the year, something that is coming out in 1 month.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was so excited about Monster Hunter Wilds. Like, the first thing I'm picking is dead set coming out this year.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Fuck, now I got to make a decision, man. Or 2 decisions, I suppose. There's, if you're not sure that a game is going to come out this year, you're sort of wasting a really valuable pick this early. But to let really big stuff go too low means that it won't, you're going to lose it. So, it's a hard choice. I think I'm going to do something stupid. I'm certain this game is not coming out this year, but they are certain it is coming out this year. I'm drafting Grand Theft Auto 6.
Who's certain it's coming out this year?
2K seems to be certain it's coming out this year. And I don't believe it.
No, I don't. At all, actually.
But, it is what it is. I think for my next one, I'm going to take another risk. But
Silk Song.
This has served me well the last couple of years. And, I'm on the wrong page. And I'm going to hope that they do me well again this year. FromSoft's Elden Ring Night Rain.
All right.
It's back to you.
So I get 2.
You get 2. That's right.
I'm gonna take. I like the thing of taking something coming out now and then later.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'm gonna take Metroid Prime 4.
Oh, nice choice.
Pretty sure that's coming out this year. I'll
Yeah,
be on. They pretty much said it. And then someone coming out soon, Avowed.
nice. Fuck, nice choice.
Though after those previews, very
Yeah,
excited for that game. It really put to rest a lot of my worry about it.
Yep, I agree.
And you had that one last year, but of course it didn't come out.
I did, yes, and that's why I'm bummed I'm not going to have it this year. It looks really good. All right, next, I've got a couple of choices I can make. That before I move on to that, Metroid Prime 4, they canceled your pre-order on Amazon.
They did after 7.5 years. It went away.
Do you think that has any bearing on that being released or announced soon for Switch 2?
I would assume so, or not even Switch 2. I mean, I think Nintendo's already said it's coming out for Switch as well. My pre-order was for Switch, so my main reason why I think they canceled it is because it's not going to be at $60 or whatever I pre-ordered it at.
That's a good point.
It's going to be a $70.
Yeah,
I'm almost certain.
I was just thinking about how Zelda's Ballad got taken off the internet, and then soon after it was announced to Echoes of Wisdom, a game with Zelda as protagonist. I'm just thinking, like, does this mean that Switch 2 is being announced next week?
It could be. It could.
I'm
going to go with the more normal way of that. They just the price that they originally estimated 7.5 years ago is not the actual price, and they don't want to sell people copies at for much. I have pre-ordered that pre-order was for
$60.
But, yeah,
totally. All right, my friend, I am going to take a gamble here on a game that I have not played, but am I going to do it? Fuck, I'm going to talk myself out of it now. Okay, I'm just going to keep saying what I was going to say, and we'll just see if I actually do it. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 previews dropped recently, and people are very enthused about it. People have been talking about it in terms of this is this team's Witcher 3, in terms of, everything's boosted from the first game.
Yeah.
It's coming out soon, less than a month.
Yep.
And I sort of believe the previews. I think that I'm a little worried about the hype factor here on Fantasy Critic, which it's lower than some of the other things that are higher on my watch list, but I feel like that could be a sleeper hit. Is it too early to draft it, though? That's the question. I think it might be. Fuck. I have a couple of things ahead of it that are coming out that seem like more sure. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a gamble. I think it'll score more than 70, but
I gambled on it last year and I got kicked out. So,
Yeah, that's true. And we can drop things that are not coming out. It's just, do I spend it now? I think I will. I'm going to go with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. That feels like a fairly sure thing. And I'd be really excited if that was their Witcher 2. And now, because my list would never be complete without this game,
do it.
I'm drafting Silksong.
Because if you're doing it this time, I'm doing it in my next two.
Well, you know what it means, though, Anthony, is the last 2 years I drafted, it didn't come out. I just sunk it. It's not coming out this year. But you know what? Here's what I think. Here's my conspiracy theory now. I think it was slated to be a Switch 2 launch title.
Potentially.
And then when the Switch 2 got delayed, they're like, well, fuck. All right.
Yeah.
We're delayed too then.
All
right, your turn, my friend.
So I am gonna pick some stuff that in this version I don't like that I can't. I was sorting it by projected points as well as hype factor and the whole thing, but
can you sort it by projected?
No, you can in a different part of the site. You can go to games and do it that way, but
got it.
For some reason here they don't put it there. But I'm gonna go with again, one projected for this year, and then one dated for this year. And then the next top 2 available. We're going Doom Dark Ages.
Ah, fuck. God.
And we're going Split Fiction.
Oh, I fucking hate you so much. God damn it. God damn it.
No,
Those were the two that I was like, it was either going to be that pair or Kingdom Come and Silksong. Fuck.
Yep.
Those are really good choices, and I hate you.
I mean, last time I went, thought about picking up one, and I was like, oh, I'll just get Avowed right now. I'm excited for that. But, yeah.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad that you've got those. It's going to make... we're going to have a
How
competitive
do they projected point? How is Silksong only projected points 10? That's dumb.
That's why I'm glad we changed it to earliest bid as opposed to whatever the lowest projected points, because that's not happening.
Silksong projected points is going to be minimum 20. Minimum.
Yeah, it's there's going to be a 90 plus if that thing comes out. That's the only question is, does it come out?
Yeah.
Does it come out? Does an unannounced 3D Mario?
Oh yeah, all those come out. Yeah.
Boy. Okay.
It's not going to be a 3D Mario. It's going to be a 2D. It's just going to screw with you.
Exactly. It's going to fuck everything over, right? Boy, do I reach into my indie bucket? Because there's indie stuff coming out that I think looks really neat. Is that something I can need to draft, or I can probably get that for a bid later? Depends on what indie games are on your list. And I don't know what those are. Is that game coming out this year? If that game's coming out this year, it's going to be a hit. Do I choose that one?
I don't know.
I just made some gambles in the last one, so I feel like I should do something that's gonna be solid. I think I'm going to not say it out loud.
See it show up here on the list.
Do I think they've got their shit together? Do I think?
No.
You damn it!
I don't even know who you're talking about, but no. Why would anyone?
Well, this game has projected points that are higher than Silksong's.
Of course. Oh, sure.
Oh my God, of course it is. I'm gonna do it. I'm drafting Pokemon Legends.
Oh, all right.
And then I'm going to draft one of those two. They're both announced for 2025. I think they're probably both coming out. I think people are gonna rate this one highly because they love this dude. I'm drafting.
You did it. You did it. All right.
This is not the list I thought I was drafting. This is a fucking weird list.
Yeah.
To be honest, your list looks like my list should have been.
I mean, you didn't pick. You didn't pick them. That's weird. Do I just go with the next ones that? I think so. I mean, I'm not ready to do indies. Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna take Pirate Yakuza.
Yeah. I thought about it.
You didn't take it.
Yeah, I thought about it. I hovered over it.
And that one's again one that is coming out very soon.
And previewing, not previewing, but the people are liking how it looks.
Yeah.
I just feel like the spin-off Yakuza don't score as highly as I would probably want for something I'm drafting, but it's guaranteed, low to somewhere in the 80s.
I bet it's going to be mid-80s.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Did that one. I already drafted that. Go like if I...
Is he going to draft the game that I am desperate to draft in the next round? Probably yes.
I don't know. But it's between two here for me. One has more hype. Points aren't really that different. I'm doing Clair Obscure.
Oh, interesting. That one's a gamble. It looks
It was a bit of
fucking
a gamble.
amazing.
It does look really cool. I really, yeah. It is, I would say, a bit of a gamble. There is a chance I'm like, this may not come out this year still, even though it's supposed to be spring, but it could. My thought is it's probably delayed till fall. But
yeah, that sounds right.
I don't feel like I feel like it's still going to release this year.
All right.
All
I
right.
am going to draft the one you did not draft. I did this last year and had to drop it. I just am banking on this being a thing. Unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer. I think
I can see that.
I think Switch 2 launches with it. So
I Switch 2 launches with a Mario game. Is it this one? Let's hope. Seems likely.
Well, they could do the same. I mean, if they're following the same game plan as Switch 1, like whatever they launch with in
It's
April
Odyssey.
May.
It's Odyssey 2 if they're going to do it.
Yeah, but
if they're doing a sequel to Odyssey, I don't know.
Yeah, but they did it in 6 months after the Switch release, so it could be a fall thing. But
that's true.
They may not
that's true.
It. Yeah. And then, oh boy, I have a decision to make. Do I think critics are going to be kind to this game? Or not? But that game looks pretty good too. Fuck. Wrong side. I'm on the wrong side. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna do it. It's a remake. It's supposed to come out this year. I picked it up last year and had to drop it. Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, actually that's what I thought you were gonna pick. For the first one, not the Mario platformer. I thought you were doing Snake Eater.
Yeah. I think that it looks good. I think that people love Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
I think that it, unless there's a bunch of Kojima or Konami hate, like people might give this a fair shake, and it looks pretty fucking good. So I'm at 9.
Now it's my turn to do the indie stuff. So Citizen Sleeper 2.
Damn.
And Slay the Spire 2, which I think it's a little bit of a risk, but I'm pretty sure it will be early access release this year.
That would be cool.
And I bet it's going to review projected points are 9, but I'm like,
it's going to review really well.
Yeah.
I would assume.
I assume it's going to be a lot like a Balatro kind of thing. It's a mechanics thing. It's very addicting.
Yep. Well, Citizen Sleeper 2, people have been doing previews of it, and they have been really good. So that's a great choice. That was on top of my indie list.
How is Slay the Spire 2 only projected at 9 points when Slay the Spire has an 89?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's the same thing as fantasy football, where like they project the players' points and then it's never right. It's just like, wow, way off. Thank God I didn't listen to you. Yahoo. All right, I am in your spirit. I'm going to draft an indie game. It's not number 1 on my indie list because you just drafted mine, Citizen Sleeper 2, but I am very interested in this game. Wonderstop.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it's a cozy management sim where you're managing a tea farm, basically. And it's done by the people who did Stanley Parable and The Beginner's Guide.
Okay.
So pretty good pedigree. So I'm going to draft that one. And then I think I do. I'm excited about this game. Do I think it's going to review well? I am worried about that. It looks good. Is it going to review well? I'm not sure about that. But I think this other one is. And I think this other one's going to come out this year. So I am going to draft the Outer Worlds 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's coming out.
Yeah. They say fall, so we're gonna have a 1-2 punch of Avowed and Outer Worlds in the fall. I guess I could see them delaying it if Avowed comes out and the reviews are basically like this should have cooked longer, and they may give Outer Worlds more time to cook. All right, you get to choose your last.
I know. I get my last two. We've gone through a lot of things. I feel like projected points is somewhat tied to hype factor. Gonna be honest.
Oh, interesting. Like lower hype
at
factor,
least
lower projected
they do
points.
something. Yeah. There's something going on there where those aren't just. They're doing weird estimations going in. Because I'm like multi-pages deep. I'm not gonna actually pick this right now because I don't know if it would come out this year. Judas, but
yeah.
Its projected points are really low, and I'm like, you'd really project the spiritual successor in a much more open BioShock game to be only like review at a 75. I don't. I doubt that. What do I want to do? Do I just want to do? I mean, I could pick two ones that are just coming out. Oh man, now we're into the hard choices. You know what? I enjoyed this game before. So first one, we'll pick Rift of the Necrodancer. Some more indie.
Okay.
It's done particularly well. I could pick up a game that comes out on Thursday.
Oh shit! That's Origins, I assume.
No, there's actually. Oh wow, there are two that come out.
Oh, okay.
This coming week, and it's like you draft them now, or you don't get to draft them.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. Just splashed myself in the face.
Do I want that though? This is my last pick, so
this is your last pick, and you can't draft. You won't be able to bid on the other one. It won't close in time, I assume.
No, because they'll be out before because bids close on Saturday. Yep. So there are two games that are coming out this week that are up for draft.
Technically, there are three.
And you have to pick one. You only get to pick one more, correct?
I do. I get one pick. I assume you're not talking about Blade Chimera, but maybe you are.
Oh no, I'm not talking about Blade Chimera.
Yeah. Okay, then I know what you're talking about. If I may interject, and maybe I don't want to, but last year I got burned repeatedly on Nintendo re-releases.
That is true. That's what has my hesitation there. Yeah. Because I actually think through my logic there, the Donkey Kong Country Returns, I haven't heard a whole lot about it.
The only thing that I've heard is that the studio is porting it is like a Polish company that didn't do a great job porting the previous game. That's what I remember.
But I haven't seen previews or anything. That's what I was like.
Exactly right.
It's like very radio silent. And I want to say, is there a demo for Dynasty Warrior Origins?
There is. Yep. And people have liked it.
Yeah. Which is... That's what I thought. Like, I don't... Yeah, screw you, projected points. We're going with it. Yeah, Dynasty Warrior Origins. Let's do that.
Yeah, so weird how those projected points are so much lower.
I don't think it's a 5. I don't think this is a 7.
I don't think
like. Is it a 90? Probably not. But
this one feels like this is what Dynasty Warriors was always meant to be. They finally done it, kind of thing.
Exactly, and it's not like the studio hasn't been putting out quality Muso-esque games for quite a while now.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
So it's cool to see them going back to like the Dynasty Warrior franchise meaningfully. So yeah, I'm done. You get your last. And we got a counter.
Pick. Yeah, then we go into counter. So I think I probably would have picked Dynasty Warrior Origins. So I can't now. So I think I could go for the indie game, but you are probably... I could probably beat you on a bid. So I need to pick one that is... So I'm kind of thinking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, but
I
boy,
know.
this development
Such
period
a
has been
oh.
fucking hell, man. Mario Kart
I mean,
feels
it
like a
could be
gamble.
good.
Yeah.
Like they're delaying it. They're trying to get it into really good shape.
Yeah.
Or it's just an absolute mess and they can't keep delaying it forever and it's just going to come out.
Exactly.
I know you said Mario Kart. I don't know about that.
There's been like no smoke around that one. So like,
No.
that's just like it makes sense because we're backseat quarterbacking this whole thing, but I don't know. And then the other one I was thinking about a lot earlier was South of Midnight. I know that Wilson Games, their last game was We Happy Few and wasn't well received. That's the only thing that makes me hesitate, but it looks really fucking good. And like, does it release this year? You know?
Yeah.
It's slated for 2025. I think the reason, part of the hesitation for me is like, well, it says 2025. They haven't dated it yet. And it's like, oh, it's because of Grand Theft Auto 6. No one wants to date shit. Like, I don't think Fable's coming out this year. Do you?
They've shown nothing in so long,
Exactly.
so probably not.
Yeah.
Like,
do I vote with my heart or do I vote with my head?
Heart, always heart.
Well, if it's my heart, then it's Assassin's Creed Shadows. All right, there it is. Give you a target for counterpicking.
Yeah, now I actually have to pick a counterpick here. Oh god.
Yeah, the hardest thing is, so for the listeners, we're drafting a third of our roster because we've got 24 more to go. So we have to draft a third of our counterpicks. There are 6 counterpicks. We have to draft 2 off of potentially the highest rated games of the year.
Yeah, and we should say a counterpick, an unpicked counterpick at the end of the league is a negative 15 points. So really what I'm looking at is thinking games that would score 85 or less. Yes. And then it doesn't feel awful.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Or ones that I'm like absolutely aren't coming out this year.
That's the main thing, is like, you're either thinking like, what were the risky ones that they chose and then making a risk yourself, or like, what's definitely not coming out. Like if I were you, I would be looking at Grand Theft Auto 6 and thinking, well, if it comes out, I'm
sure. Yeah, exactly. Same with Silk Song.
Yes, exactly.
And I have time to counterpick those.
You do.
Let's be honest. As the year goes on, I mean, that's how I counterpicked Silk Song last.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't think this is coming out. And if it does, well, right. I'm screwed, but whatever. I don't think it's coming out. Like, there's nothing. I will. Oh boy, this is okay. Going with what my head says, and my head says Outer Worlds 2 as my first counter pick.
That's a good one. I think it's likely that gets pushed.
It gets pushed, and I bet it's actually hovers probably around 80.
Yeah,
is my point. Like I think it's not Obsidian's focused. Avowed is their focus. It's crazy to think they're going to have 2 games coming out likely this year. But
yeah, I mean, they're a powerhouse for them. They're like,
but I know that Outer Worlds is their. I mean, the first one, and even this one that we're joking about, is like, this one had been started with Private Division, and their whole thing was like making a Bethesda-style game at like a quarter of the budget. Yeah, right, and I think they do well, and they're good, but the budget still holds them back at least a bit.
Yep.
So that's my logic there. You get to counterpick now.
Oh shit! Sorry. Yes, I do, and I am going to counterpick what I think is a risk on your part. So this could blow up in my face.
Oh, jeez.
I am not sure that Clair Obscure Expedition 33 is going to review well. If it does, I'm so fucked because it could be a banger. It could be like a high 80s to low 90s, and I would.
Oh, I think it's Snake. I think you pick a second one.
Oh shit! Yep, you're right.
Okay.
Oh, that's weird
right.
to snake this.
Okay, they're snaking this. All right.
Oh fuck! Now I gotta think. I would love to choose one that I think isn't coming out. Like I could counterpick Ghost of Yote.
Yeah.
Because I think it's probably going to be.
It's a risk.
But at the same time, PlayStation Studios hasn't had one of these type of games in like a year and a half or 2 years, so I don't think they really are going to push it.
It's been in development for a bit.
Yeah, it's been 5 years. 5 years since Ghost. I think you have such a solid lineup here that the other one I'd probably nitpick is, where is it on the list here? Yeah, I think I'm probably going to pick Rift of the Necrodancer.
Yep, I figured it was probably that one.
Yep.
Now I get to do this again, looking at yours. No, I'm not going to counterpick Death Stranding 2. Too many people like Kojima and his bullshit.
That's the thing. That's exactly right.
Pokemon Legends ZA I was considering it, but there is a thing where I feel like it is their second time out after Arceus.
Yeah.
And they're shooting for, like, I feel like Legends Arceus was the prototype, kind of like get ourselves a good footing, and ZA is very likely going to be like, oh, this is the game we wanted to make, and we are executing.
And on the Switch 2 hardware, that could probably make it sing as opposed to...
That's the important part, because they're like, we're putting it in a city. I'm like, you need the Switch 2 hardware.
When they've had they didn't put anything out last year, so they've been cooking on this for a while.
I'm not counterpicking Monster Hunter Wilds. Screw that.
That would be very dumb.
Or any Elden Ring. GTA I could do later. Kingdom Come Deliverance, potentially. Do I do the risk here? Do I like...
In my head, I think I know what you're going to counterpick. I'm curious to see if you do. There's a gamble counterpick, just like I did with Expedition 33, and I think there's a safe counterpick. I wonder if those.
I'll probably gamble. I'm counterpicking Assassin's Creed.
That's exactly what I thought you were going to do. That was the gamble. I thought Wonder Stop might be a safer one.
Maybe. I'm not sure, honestly. Mostly because I just don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to like choose it without looking closer into it.
Right.
Also the pedigree of its devs. I don't know if I would risk that.
Yeah. You have a lot of games coming up soon. This is interesting. Why don't we read through our list? I'll go first, and then I'll have you do yours. Prof Plays Games. My publisher name is Survive25, which is what we're all going to try to do. Monster Hunter Wilds, Grand Theft Auto 6, Elden Ring Night Rain, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Hollow Knight Silksong, Pokemon Legends ZA, or ZA, Death Stranding 2 on the Beach, unannounced mainline 3D Mario platformer, which is probably Odyssey 2, I agree with Anthony. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, Wander Stop, The Outer Worlds 2, and Assassin's Creed Shadows. And my two counterpicks are Clair Obscure Expedition 33 and Rift of the Necrodancer.
Yep. And my picks are for Dead Internet Inc. is my publisher. Is Ghost of Yote, Sid Meier's Civilization 7, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Avowed, Doom The Dark Ages, Split Fiction, Like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. I just love the title. I'm sorry.
It's so crazy. So wild.
I mean, I feel like I just picked it because of that. The title's just good.
It is really good.
Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, Citizen Sleeper 2, Star Wars Vector, Slay the Spire 2, Rift of the Necrodancer, and Dynasty Warriors Origins. And I counterpicked The Outer Worlds 2 and Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Oh boy. This is getting off to a start.
Yeah, there's part of me that feels like Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be like an 80 game. Low 80.
Yeah, I can see
I have a hard time seeing it hitting. Like, it is a risk. Prove me wrong. Ubisoft might have just been doubling down and just polishing the crap out of this thing.
The nice thing is if you're wrong,
to make another Odyssey.
Yeah, if you're wrong, you get an awesome Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is pretty cool.
And if I'm right, then I'm like, well, not picking that up again.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to be waiting for reviews. I have a limited gaming budget this year, but this is the one non-Nintendo game that I'm very excited about. So I went with my heart on that one. So bids process in 5 days, 19 hours or so. So if you're going to put in bids, I will put in a couple bids on stuff I had on my list that I didn't draft. So just a heads up, we'll start building the list a little bit. Very cool.
Yeah. Current projected points, which don't matter, are I have projected 276, and yours projected at 268.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Which the projected points mean nothing.
Nothing. They've been so off, so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking at the list here, your Dynasty Wars Origins is the lowest projected for you at 5, which is I don't see that
think
happening.
that's gonna be that low.
So
basically I have 2 coming out this month, and then you have Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then I have Rift of the Necrodancer, and Civ 7, and Avowed, and Pirate Yakuza. So basically you have...
I have 2 in 2 months, and you have 6.
A bunch.
Yeah. Yep, I've got 2 through the end of February.
Yep. I think Monster Hunter Wilds is... Yeah, they only have it at 15. I mean...
I feel like that's low.
Probably. What did Rise get? Rise got 88.
I guess I would probably compare it to World.
I would too. I'm just trying to see. World got 90.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, like 87 and higher on that one.
And Iceborne got 90.
Yeah.
So I expected it's going to be 85 to 90 is my thought. The only reason I feel like it could theoretically be lower than 90 is just expectations.
Right, that's true.
And that's just, but I'm like, I have a hard time seeing it doing less than that. And you chose it before I could choose it. If I was going first, that was the one I was going to pick.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought you were going for that one. And if you went first, I thought that would be your first one.
Yeah. So I just started choosing other ones.
Yeah. Our list, kind of like last year where I picked up Metaphor, which is a game that you would have picked up, and picked up some other random RPG. Not random, but a game that's very much a you game and not so much a me game. But I'm trying to pick for points. I think the thing that's killing me is Doom: The Dark Ages and Split Fiction. I should have gotten those earlier.
Yeah, I was surprised. Because you did Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Silksong.
Yeah, I would have picked Silksong that round anyways, but I was going between Doom and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Well,
yeah, I can't bet against Doom at all.
No, that's going to score very well. And it looks fucking rad. It looks so good.
Does.
God, like medieval Doom. That's like, at some point this year, I'm going to get a Game Pass for a couple of months. I think that'll be cost effective for my budget this year, and just play through a couple of these games that look badass.
Yeah,
on Game Pass. So Avowed and Doom specifically are the ones that I'm looking at.
Nice. Yeah.
Cool. Well, there it is. That's our Fantasy Critic 2025 draft. follow along, you can go to Fantasy Critic and follow Public Games. Just search for Prof and Dev Play Games. I'll post the link on Blue Sky, etc. as well. Before we get out of here, Anthony, anything you've been playing recently?
Actually, this week has been pretty light on gaming. I'm trying to think. Did I play anything at the beginning of the week? I want to say I did. Oh wait, there was something I played. We didn't get a chance because we were doing our Game of the Year stuff that I played. My side.
Oh, yeah. I've seen
Yeah,
that
I
on
played that
Steam.
thing.
Thoughts?
It's tagged psychological horror for a reason.
Aha.
I don't know. I didn't come out of it like, oh, this is amazing. But I played through one full playthrough of it. I think there's a couple different routes I could go back to and play. Interesting puzzles. It's a full like 3D walk around, solve puzzles, don't die kind of stuff going on there. The thing that is shocking to me about it that made me even consider it is it has almost 66,000 reviews.
Yeah, it's been,
and a 98% positive on that.
Jesus. Yeah.
And I was like, sure. I got it on sale for like, some site was had it on sale, and I got it for like $13 or something. I was like, sure. I will give this a go by the end of the year. Psychological horror is the correct tag. Psychological horror, cute, story rich. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Does it remind you of Doki Doki Literature Club at all? Or is it very different?
It is very different.
Okay.
The fact that, it is at the highest level, yes, they're both psychological horror in their own ways. But this is, it's not a visual novel at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is a full-on, rendered walking around, interacting with things, solving in-world puzzles. Very adventure gamey in that way. It was interesting. There was actually some really cool puzzles and elements. So I see why it's overwhelming positive. Like if I reviewed it, I would give it a positive, a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's a 90 or anything? No. I think I enjoyed Doki Doki more than it.
Interesting.
But
is it the similar length? Is it shorter?
It is similar length. It wasn't that long. It took me 4 hours to play through it. Okay. So, but it was cool though. I'm glad I checked it out. I kind of wanted to check it toward the end of the year because I was like, oh, should this be on my Game of the Year list at all? No. Yeah. I'm happy I played it, but didn't make Game of the Year list. That's all I've really been focused on, and then I watched a bunch of GDQ. So.
Oh God, fuck yeah, we did too, man. So many
good. Good.
This year's runs were amazing.
Yes,
so good. So much Zelda content too, which has been great. And then Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in 6 hours and 12 minutes. Holy shit!
Jeez. I watched some last night towards the end. Their whole end thing, which honestly, I would say that the programming this year was amazing on their execution. Absolutely. Like there wasn't really any real hiccups. And it was going in the way that they scheduled the games was really, really well done to keep it exciting.
Yep.
And the last day, we're recording on Saturday, middle of the day, they did just a 16-minute run, which was Crazy Taxi with a live backing band.
Yeah.
And that was like such the perfect like hype machine to get everyone just excited to go for like that into Ocarina of Time, into Echoes of Wisdom, and then Metroid.
That Ocarina of Time randomizer was wild.
It is wild. But it was really cool seeing that. It was really like, oh, this is really well planned. Like,
yep.
I'm like, aha, this is someone who knows how to do like event planning and getting like a pre-show going to get people hyped and excited, and then into like just some good games.
Yep.
So that was a fun time. But yeah, other than that, no, nothing really to talk about here.
This time period, I have mainly been playing Final Fantasy VII, the original. I played a
All
little bit of
right.
Helldivers with my friends, which has been great, and I played some Marvel Rivals with my friends, which was fun too. But I've spent a lot of time. I probably put 6 hours into Final Fantasy VII. After being Rebirth, I just wanted to go back and continue to experience the game. So I've pushed through the end of Disc 1, got to the part where Aerith died. Just to see that thing over and over again was really cool. And by over and over again, I mean whatever the boss was, Genova. Afterwards, I died like
Yeah.
2 or 3 times to Genova, so I had to go through the whole thing
Do the whole
again.
thing again.
Yeah, I was like, wow, this must have been brutal back in the day if you died at Genova and had to fucking see Aerith die again. I thought it was just really well done, good storytelling. And then you pivot to a snowboarding mini game, which
Yep.
surprised the shit out of me.
Yep. Because you got to go to Northern Crater. Got to
Yep, we're
snowboard
going
down
north.
into it.
It's snowy and cold, and there's a snowboarding mini game, and I'm pretty deep into. I'm at the windmill maze or wind something
Sure.
maze, whatever it's called. So yeah, I'm probably, if I look at the guide, I'm probably a third of the way through disc 2, and then just kind of push my way through. I'm using, I'm alternating between keeping the cheats on or turning them off. The cheats for this game are basically 3 times speed, which is almost always on. Turning off random encounters, I turn that off, or I use that only when I'm trying to like move through a place and figure out where I'm supposed to go. But I usually keep the random encounters on, and then the
Sure.
God mode basically, which just refills your limit gauge and your health instantly every time. I keep that on for some of the battles, especially now that my healer is dead, because I haven't respected anyone as a healer. But it's still, there's several fights where, I'll just say one as an example, the Marlboro up there that turns you into frogs.
Oh, sure.
I didn't have white cape or ribbon on, so then I was turned into frogs. So I was like, fuck, how do I get out of frogs? Well, I can't. I don't have any spell. I don't have any items to turn me out of frogs. So I'm just gonna whack away at this Marlboro for one hit, 1 HP damage per hit. And I just sat there for like 20 minutes just banging away at X. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna look up the HP of this character, this fucking enemy. It was 4,400. I was like, I'm gonna be here for a while. I'm just gonna go back and redo this. Go back to the last save, swap in Barrett, who is wearing a ribbon, and then he didn't get turned into a frog, and I just nuked to the Marlboro. But just moving through, I'm really enjoying the story. I'm really thankful that they've modernized some of these games in terms of putting some of these cheats in. Thinking about Final Fantasy 1 last year and then moving into Final Fantasy 2 next week, some of those cheats just make it a little bit easier to move through.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But there's so much to Final Fantasy 7 in terms of the materia, grinding out the materia, the right weapons, or whatever else. It's just such a deep system that I can see why people were so in love with it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it's funny how amount of time you've actually put in and where you are in the story of 7.
Yeah, because I'm
And
16
considering
hours
where
in.
Rebirth got to,
Right?
out of if we take remake and Rebirth, I will say graciously, that's like 110 hours.
For me, it's 120 because it was 50 for
Yeah,
remake and 70 for rebirth, so
yeah, there
120
you go.
hours.
120 hours to get to the same place you've gotten, 20, maybe?
No, I mean, my game clock is 16 hours right now, and I got to the end of disc 1 at like 12 or 13 hours. So
that's insane.
yeah, I can see now as I'm going through, I'm really excited to be able to have the experience of the original 7 before I play the remake of that piece, like that you and Travis have for the whole game. But I can see how they're going to get it down into one game because it's a lot of stuff up there in the north that's, I don't know if it's repetitive is the right word, but I can see how they can condense it.
Yeah, I assume they're just going to make that pretty quick.
Yeah.
God, hopefully they don't do anything with snowboarding. They
Dude,
probably
they're
will.
gonna have a snowboarding minigame.
Well,
Absolutely.
they are, because there was the snow. I'm pretty sure that it eventually unlocks on the Gold Saucer, where you can do snowboarding on the Gold Saucer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's fun though. I hate
No, it was not fun. It was no.
And I'm like, God damn it, they're gonna put that in again. I'm gonna hate it again.
Yep.
Well, that's cool though. Working through that. It's been a long time since I've gone back through original 7, super far. Because you can actually burn through the story really fast in it if you want to.
Well, and that's what the cheats are helping me do. Is like I don't
Yeah.
need to go around and find a lot of the extra stuff. Like the
Yeah.
guide is saying like don't forget this weapon and whatever else. And I'm like I'm trying to get through the places without a guide, so I miss stuff.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But then I'm because of the cheat, basically like I'm not getting wiped too much. Sometimes I
Yeah.
am. Like for example, I think it was it was Genova. You get a water ring for a reason before that
Yes.
fight, and I did not put it on. And then I'm like, what the fuck? I can't. I'm dead. I can't do anything. So then I did it 2 more times, and it kept happening. I was like, wait a second. They gave me a water ring probably for a reason. I'm gonna put it on, and then it changed the fight. Of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, old games.
Old games. Yep, old games. So I'm glad to be having this experience. I'm a true 7 sicko at this point. So
There you go. That's cool.
yeah.
You only will be fully immersed once you're like finish that and be like, all right, we're doing 8.
Yeah. I keep thinking like what I'm going to do because I'm starting 2 next week for the RPG backlog. But 10 keeps hovering as one that I want to get to, or 9, and I don't know. I probably would do 9 and then 10. I don't know if I'll do 8.
They're pretty different. They're real different. Like 10 is. I mean, 7, 8, and 9 all resemble each other gameplay wise for the most part. Like they have different systems. Like 7 has materia, 8 has junctioning, 9 has a more traditional, like you learn abilities from your weapons and then you can swap them out to other, like once you learn the ability, you have it permanently.
Yeah.
But you have to master it on a weapon before you get there.
Yep.
So you're mixing and matching abilities that way. But I mean, they're structurally kind of the similar, like they're all PS1 Final Fantasies, and there's a look and a style to that, where 10 was like, no, this is PS2, this is wildly different. And it is a pretty wild shift in game. Both it and 12 are very different games. Like we grew up in high school that they were doing their similar thing on PS1, and then it's like Square was like, nah, PS2, we're just gonna, from then on, have just been like, no Final Fantasy is the same. Even remotely the same as the one that came before it.
That's interesting.
Because 13 is looks nothing like 10 or 12. 14 is the MMO. 15, absolutely nothing like the ones that came before. Same with 16. I guess 16 somewhat like 15, kind of.
God,
I guess if you blur, like squint your eyes really, like they're both action, but pretty divergent in story and structure and setting and the whole thing. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting how that kind of happened. I mean, I guess Sakaguchi left. And then it was kind of Wild West, try new things.
Right.
But yeah, I'll see where you get to when you finish 7. How you feel about things.
Well, I'm probably going to finish 7 and 2 around the same time based on the podcast schedule for 2. I'm just excited to continue the Final Fantasy journey this year. And then also, my goal of playing old games instead of buying new games is working out pretty well so far. Just finding a lot of, all the references. Like, for example, looking, the way Final Fantasy 7 was done, where you have like the backdrop and then you're kind of moving through this backdrop and it makes you bigger and smaller or whatever. Like I never realized that Ocarina of Time has that similar idea. It's different, but it has that backdrop when you're moving in and out and around them.
Yep.
I don't know if they were aping off of 7 or both had the idea at the same time or whatever.
7 was supposed to be an N64 game.
Yeah, right.
And that was the problem is that Square wanted to do lots of those backdrops and pre-rendered cutscenes. Yeah. And that doesn't fit on a cart. And you can tell Zelda doesn't do nearly as many of the pre-rendered backgrounds. Like they do a few. They do a few of them.
Yeah.
But the cart just doesn't have the space for that. So, that was just at a time when that was how you could make backgrounds look really good. Because you were not going to real-time render backgrounds like that.
Yeah.
impossible to render real-time backgrounds like that at the time.
And 8 has a similar look?
Yes.
Yeah, interesting.
Although they increased the tech on the PS1, so that the backgrounds can actually be animated movies.
Oh, wow.
So there are parts in 8 where you're like moving your 3D character and the background is moving.
Okay.
And like a whole cutscene is playing as your 3D model is on it. Like they do some crazy stuff on the tech. Like the tech jump from 7 to 8 is pretty drastic. Less from 8 to 9. But yeah, that's, I will say I do particularly like generally how 8 looks and runs. And it's not low poly characters in the same way. Like your characters when they're running around the map are actual textured polygons.
Interesting.
Like Squall is textured. He has clothes and like still pixelated, but it's not just a collection of colored polygons that Cloud is.
Yep. Oh man, it looks so interesting.
Yeah.
Way to put that together. Particularly Kate Sith, in my view.
Yes.
Maybe I will do 7, 8, and then 9. It would be kind of interesting to do it in that order. 7, 8, 9.
I mean, 10. That's how we experienced it.
Exactly. Like I get to be it almost be parallel because we're doing the old stuff. Like we did 1, now we're doing 2. I assume we'll do 3. And it's wild that 2 and 3 were never released here. I mean, not never. Obviously, they are now, but that 4.
Yeah, it just took a long time.
4 with 2 here.
There's a whole history on why they weren't released, and it was not because they didn't think they would sell.
Yeah,
it was localization time.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Like they were doing it, and it was, how was it? It was like 2 and 3. By the time the localization was getting, like, they had started localizing, getting to done, the Super Nintendo was close to coming out. And by the time they would have released the games in the US, the Super Nintendo, they didn't expect that they would sell because the Super Nintendo was coming out.
Right, so no one would buy Nintendo games, basically, they thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which maybe.
And so they just never made it, and they never made it to the States because it took them so long to localize the things.
Yeah.
There, all those stupid books I have on my shelf that talk about the history of that. There's a lot of interviews about like how crappy localization was back in that time and how it delayed most things. And that's why you got that. I don't know why. I think I'd have to read up on why 5 didn't come out till later. Maybe similarly that the localization on it was just going to be real expensive and time consuming. Mm-hmm. And so they're just like, we'll just skip to 6. Yeah, they didn't care about the Western audience all that much at that time. Fun. All right.
Very cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening this week. We will be back next week. I think next week we're doing our predictions for 2025. Our gaming predictions. That was our goal. So we'll be back next week to talk about gaming predictions. If you like our podcast, please rate it on your podcast service of choice and tell your friends. And we will be back next week.
All right. Later, everyone.